Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. So this is the second go I've had this morning of painting this video. I discovered just now that I can't paint. I always knew that actually, but yeah, I just proved it to myself unequivocally that I can't paint. So I'm starting again, and I'm going to do something completely different because I'm going to work on principle that the moon is in the wrong phase. And I am incapable at the moment. Obviously, not hormones for me, I don't think, past that, but oh, whatever. So I'm going to just pick up colours more or less at random, and I'm going to do rewarding circles because obviously I need to be calmed down. Something's not right. So I'm going down the row here, and we've got the ecru and the beige, and this rather nice sagey kind of green. I'm not quite sure what kind of green that is, but, you know, this is a good way to swatch your colours, isn't it? You know, who wants to make little boxes? Well, I do actually. Sometimes I want to make little boxes of colour, but sometimes this is better. So I'm just doing this. And then I think I'm going to, on top of here, we're going to paint some doodles. Perhaps we'll paint the doodles rather than using pens. We're into the pinks now, and someone said to me as a comment on the last video, can you make any suggestions as to how I can figure out a colour scheme? And I can't really. I'm not into those boxes of swatches that people choose colour schemes from and then they try to match them and make them happen. It's too, for me, too contrived. I'm not saying it's not a good thing to do. It possibly is. It might be fun. It's not me. I just make mistakes. I go with the flow, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's only paint and paper. You think about all the waste in the world. To waste a piece of paper is hardly relevant. It's quite a nice pink, isn't it? And I'm going to go back to the beiges now. I'm going to stick with the beige and the pink. I don't want to add any blue. Don't know why. I'm feeling very pink today. Woo. Let's put the beige one down here. Yeah, I tried to do something with birds and it wasn't going to work, so I've given it up. Another day, another dollar. No, what's that got to do with anything? Bockingford paper always makes me think of when I first learned to paint. I used this a lot. We didn't have very much choice in those days of what paper to use. Bockingford, Winsor & Newton, they had something called the Langton pad, which you can still get, which is quite nice. I recommend that actually. I might get some. I haven't had any of that for ages. Right, so now we have a background. And we've done this before, haven't we? And no doubt we will do it again. Going to dry it in a minute and make sure it's completely dry before we go to the next step. because I didn't tape it down or stretch it, it's bending as it gets wet, as you can see. Okay, so there's my first intuitive effort. We'll whack the hairdryer on that. Okay, so that's now dry, and the next step that I'm going to take is to try to put some doodles or marks on top of these sketchy circles that I've done. So I'm going to mix up something quite strong, a brown perhaps, dark brown maybe, and I need a swatch paper to just try it out. That's probably too green. Let's try more of a brown. Let's see how that goes. Start over here, be cautious. And I'm using a size 5 brush. And this is so good for practicing your control of the brush, how to do thin lines, and how to control the amount of water you're using. Because it's all very well to use pens all the time and brush pens and so on. That's great, but sometimes if you're going to ever progress, sometimes you have to work a bit harder. Don't have to, but if you want to, this is one way of doing that. And I'm going to use, I don't know how this is going to work out. This is buff titanium, which is ostensibly a very opaque beige. And I'm going to, this is from Daniel Smith. I'm just activating that. Can't think of a better word than that. It sounds like it's a bit of a funny word to use. So let's use that and put some wavy lines on there, just to see if that makes me happy. And then on this side we could do some circles. And even occasional leaf shapes. And just fill up the space, really. And then if we wanted to, when that was dry, we could add gold or something like that. The other thing you could also do is you could go around the outside of these spirals. As I've often said, the only thing that limits you really with this kind of painting is your own imagination and what you like to look at. So that's the first one. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some more of this, and then I'm going to put, let's put some sort of egg shapes or ovals. Actually, oval does mean egg shape, doesn't it? Come to think of it. On here, and we'll let those dry. While I work on the one next to it. Okay. So now we could have a bit more brown, perhaps mixed with some quinacridone gold, make a bit more rusty colour like that, perhaps. And what should we do? I know, let's have a branch. Because we're not going to get very far if we don't allow ourselves to do nature-inspired motifs. Whoops. think when you're doing something like this, it's a good idea to have kind of one that's quite densely packed, followed by one that's less dense, you know. And we've got this mauve here, haven't we? So we could put, let's put some leaves on here. Just separate, not on a stem. The thing with something like this is you do need something to inspire you. You can't expect yourself to come up with ideas out of your head. I don't. I need to look at other paintings, other photos, other things to get me started. Always. It's just impossible. Otherwise, and put some solid ones as well, I think. I just feel that needs it. But once you do get started, and once you've overcome the fear of white paper, FALP, fear of white paper, FALP, once you've overcome the FALP, you'll find you relax and things start to work. Tamsin just came in and I said, I can't paint. I've just realised that I can't paint at all. And she said, oh, it'll be all right. Just once you get started, it always turns out. I said, well, usually does. I don't know about always. Okay, so let's put on this one here, let's just put some dots. And perhaps not that colour, that's a bit bright. Okay. And here we could have let's just put some parallel lines like that, maybe. Oops. And then maybe in a slightly different colour. That buff titanium is very similar, isn't it, to this ecru or whatever they call it in the Kuretake set. When we're done with all of this, if we ever get finished, we might come in with some gold or some black or something like that. Let us play with circles. And something darker. I tell you, I do not know what I'm going to do with the brush. When I'm doing something like this, I have no idea at all what I'm going to do until the paper and paint and brush meet up. Okay. What should we do next? In the middle here. I'm thinking, is that dry yet? No. Maybe I should turn it round. what about just on this one doing some, oh, it's not going to show up. Let's do it in a darker, slightly darker colour. I think it's a good idea, if you want to do a lot of this kind of thing, to make a booklet with ideas in it. Because if you're anything like me, the ideas do not flow thick and fast. And you struggle all the time to come up with ways of filling the paper. This definitely needs, well, that's rather nice, sort of texture on the paint, of the paint on the paper, because it's not too much water on here, it's quite dry, so I'm getting that scumbled look. Yes, quite like that. And maybe we'll put a few dots as well. They look a bit like almonds in their shells, don't they? Okay, and let's just continue with some circles here, perhaps. Make them lighter. That one's a bit too dark. Yeah. And let's, what should we do? Let's turn this around again. I'm getting the need for another branch, or a leaf, a big leaf. How about a big leaf? Or two. And next, we could have perhaps a spiral. We need a little bit of a spirally thing going on here, maybe. That is not a spiral. That is. Sometimes, if you're doing something like this, it's a good idea to repeat. So this is similar to that. You could do all of this with pen, couldn't you? And maybe to balance out that, maybe we need something parallel lines again, perhaps. Okay, so now that's filled up and we have to decide what we're going to do next. So I'll just dry that. Now I'm not 100% sure about this white pen, so we're going to give that a try and just start embellishing all of these shapes. And I think this is an interesting process because when you start doing this, you think, why am I doing this? But when you've finished and it's all been done, it's always amazing, actually. The look is just, I don't know, it's so worthwhile. I'm going to do alternate white and possibly gold. I'm not sure yet. I'll do the white first. Oops. Made a mistake there. Let's try doing gold on the inside. So what you've done basically by doing this process, I think I'm going to have to change my ideas there because I've made a mistake, so I'll turn that mistake into an advantage and we'll do all of them. They're all different sizes. Somewhat different shapes, so that's fine. So we do that and then fill them roughly with gold. What I was going to say, what you've done is you've created your own colouring in book. So if you like to do colouring book thing, this is a way of doing it which is more. Basically, that's all it is, isn't it? It's just more original. You're not filling in someone else's pre-drawn ideas. And the thing is, as you go around each of these sort of mandala-like designs that you've so laboriously made, and you think halfway through, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I better keep going because Diane says, don't stop. This is true. You mustn't ever stop. You have no idea how often I get halfway through a painting and I say, this is not going to work, but I must continue. Because I just have to. I can't just leave it because, I don't know, I hate to have things unfinished. You know, my daughter, my darling daughter, who I love dearly, She knows this is a character flaw. We all have character flaws. I've got plenty of them. But one of hers that she's struggling with at the moment is she likes to have lots of things on the go at the same time, which means another way of saying she never finishes anything. And she'll probably smack me for saying this. But I think it's lovely, really, because I'm the same, really. I like to be doing lots of things, but I do like to finish things before I start the next thing. And that's a bad thing because it means I tend to get a bit stressy about things if they're not finished and put away afterwards. Oh, you know, I mean, I couldn't have more than one project of knitting on the go at the same time, for example. If I'm doing a knitting project, I have to only have one thing. Otherwise, I feel uncomfortable. I think it's probably because I feel as if I'll let myself down if I don't finish it. And that's kind of outweighed the desire to do lots of things at the same time. We're all different, aren't we? Went into the Longère yesterday. It's called a Longère. It's a barn in other languages. And it's full of junk from previous houses we've lived in and previous incarnations of this house when it used to be slightly differently arranged. And I'm like, we really need to get rid of all of this. But how do you get rid of what used to be your favourite table? You know you're never going to use it again. How do you get rid of the glass bar that you bought when you were first renovating your house? But now you don't drink alcohol, so you have no need for a bar in the living room. So what do? Give it to the charity shop. It just ends up standing there. Okay, that's perhaps enough gold on that one, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Okay, let's go around here. I was looking on a website called Cult Pens last night, thanks to Sheila from England, who's recommended their website. They do ship to France and they know how to deal with the customs, so that's a good thing. And looking at the different kinds of pens that are available. They've got like 10 million different pens. And it just becomes completely impossible to decide what you're going to. You know, when I say pens, I mean things like this gold pen, and you know, there's Tombow and there's Huru, straight off Star Trek. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you decide which ones are the best. I get what you could call decision paralysis. Maybe I want some white in there. It would help if I didn't leave the lid off the white, wouldn't it? Give it half a chance. I quite like the fact that there's not that much contrast between the background and the foreground. You know, because I've done it all quite light. And we can put some leaves, some veins on these leaves. And question is, are we going to put any black in here? At all? I'm not sure. Some areas are very obvious what they want to have done to them, aren't they? We've got a quite big space here. I might have to get the paint out again for that. And perhaps over here. I expect a psychologist or someone who dealt in graphology or something would probably be able to analyze why I do the shapes I do. Okay, we're getting towards the end now. At the end of these two colours anyway. I'm going to see whether we need any black. Do we need any black? I think we probably do. What do you think? Not? Very difficult. It's probably where I should take a photocopy. I think it might be too much. Maybe brown. What about some sepia? Say, for example, around the outside of these almonds. And we could sort of emphasize some of these going down one side, like that, perhaps. And we could, yeah, I think the sepia was a good choice. And this gives a sort of richness to the whole thing when you come back for the second pass. It's true, actually. This is definitely a 3-part journey. If you stop after just 2, it doesn't give you the same effect. You see what I mean? How it builds it up. And then we want to go around the outside of these. When you're doing that, you might think, perhaps I should do some empty ones, sort of in the spaces. But then, as a wise person said to me the other day, you don't want to fill all the spaces. You need to give it space to breathe, which is true. Roland Hilder said that. And he was right. So I think that makes a pretty good, a big difference. I think. It sort of makes sense of it when you put the clean line in. And you can use all the same sorts of lines and motifs that you used with paint, but doing them with line, it emphasizes the shapes you've already done. If you see what I mean. So we can put spirals here just off center. So they're going away from the ones, from the blobs. I think that works. And then perhaps we could just go along some of these lines partially. Like every other art form, it can be developed, can't it? So you can do as simple or as complicated as you like. Just depends on your mood and what you're trying to achieve, whether it's just pure relaxation and you don't want to do very much, or whether you want to push it to the limit, which is a bit more what I'm trying to do. Just how far can I take this before I lose the will to live? You can do circles or dots along the edge of the line when you've got a spiral like that. That's quite fun. You can do it on any of the lines, actually. It doesn't have to be a spiral. It could be on here too. And the more you get into it, the more you realize you can play around. Okay, this looks like a feather, doesn't it? Not going to do anything to that. Makes me think of Zentangle doing that kind of thing. I've done one side, I want to do the other side now. I suppose if you're a gardener, you can't finish things. Actually, I was just thinking about Tamsin and saying, having different things on the go at the same time. You can't finish things if you're a gardener. It's the whole definition of gardening, really, is that it's a custodianship, isn't it? And you can't finish because things have to continue to live. So she's right to not want to finish things. That's why I'm not a good gardener. Just realised. I'll have to tell her that. That's why I'm not a good gardener, because I like it to be done, and plants are never done. That's an absolutely stupendous. These look like fried eggs. I can't eat them. Stupendous revelation of mine. Wow, that's why I'm no good at gardening. I don't mind looking at gardens, but I'm absolutely hopeless at creating them. I don't have the patience. I want it to be done. Like that program that used to be on the BBC, wasn't it? The one with what was his name? Can't remember. All I can think of is Cliff Mitchellmore, for goodness sake. What was his name? I think this is the last one. Anyway, you know, instant gardens. That's me. I'm obviously not alone. Ground Force was the name of the program. People used to have them come in as a team and take their garden to pieces and rebuild it. I've got 100 books behind me, and I know that one of them has got to be by that chap whose name I can't remember. So if anyone can tell me, please, please do in the comments below. And at this point, I'm going to say, please give us a like and subscribe if you, by any remote chance, have enjoyed this rambling meander through a piece of paper. Poor piece of paper, never did anyone any harm, and look what I've done to it. And leave your comments below. Join us on Patreon if you feel like it. Starts at $2.99. We've got a Facebook group or two that you can share your pictures on if you feel that's something you want to do as well. And of course, the YouTube membership, which is great if you sign up. Oh, and another thing, if you feel like making a donation towards the running of our channel, because that's very kind of you if you do feel like doing that. You can do a super thanks on here. So you just literally click somewhere where it says give super thanks. And one lady very generously gave us, I think, $25 the other day, which is absolutely fantastic. And thank you. I have thanked her through the comments, but I thank her again. And lots of you are really generous and do absolutely marvelous stuff, which really helps the channel enormously. I think it goes that way around, doesn't it? Yeah, or you can go over to our website, dianeantone.com, where we have all of our free sketches for you to download, free, no charge at all. You just have to put them in your basket and check out. You don't have to pay for them. And you can, but if you want to pay, you can. And there are a few other things there that we do charge for, like our colouring books, which we're going to try to increase the number of as we go towards Christmas. New ones will be coming along, I hope, if we can find the time. I don't know where the days go. And you can also leave a tip there in the tip jar, which is a PayPal thing, and that goes straight into PayPal. They do charge an enormous amount of commission on those things, but we're very grateful for what we do get. And put a D up there, that's me. Okay, I'm going to leave that now and let you think about that. That's a great way of spending an hour. And yeah, I'll see you again soon, everybody. So I'll say bye for now, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye from me and my doodles.